Wait for it. Wait for it. Oh. Yeah, I nearly ate it there. I slid a good ways. Welcome everybody, this is round 7 of the 2024 Mideast season. We're at Stranger's Ranch, a classic Mideast track. They've been running this track long before I even started racing with them, so it's been around for a while. It's a very well established track, and as you can see here, for the second year in a row, it's a mutter. Everyone loves a mutter. 2 in a row, I think, if you can count the last one as a mutter. Speaking of the last race, unfortunately did not get to record that one. Not because I didn't want to. I had my camera there and everything. But I unfortunately forgot the mount for the camera. So that sucked. But fortunately I did get the angle issue fixed. So I moved. Watch out, people coming through. I did get the I moved the mount from I was using one of the like the stretchy chest mounts that you wear. So I cut that apart and actually mounted the camera mount piece to my chest protector directly. But the first time I mounted it, it was a little too high, and I was getting too much of the helmet in the shot. So I mounted it again a little lower this time, and I think I nailed the sweet spot because this angle looks pretty good. So yeah, unfortunately no footage from the last race, but that's okay. I've been really lacking in the motivation department here recently, so I haven't really been wanting to edit videos anyway, so I didn't cry too hard when I realized that I didn't have my mount. As you can see, bikes are stuck, deep ruts. It's a classic mutter. The nice thing about Stranger's Ranch, I will say, is that because it's so well established, there are lots and lots of lines usually. There's very few areas where it's just a single line. It's very wide open through the woods, so very easy to find those alternative lines when people get stuck. My problem though, unfortunately, as you can see here, perfect example, I like to ride right behind the person in front of me, so when they get stuck, I get stuck. It's just the way it works out, I guess. It's something I really need to break myself from, but yeah. I did make some changes to the bike since the last couple races, last video I guess. I put new tires on. I had been running the Tusk Recon tires. I had a Tusk Recon on the back, and I had a Tusk Talon on the front. Do not care for either of those tires. Do not. Everybody said they're very similar to other gummy tires, but I did not like either of them. The Talon on the rear, it was okay when it was like brand spanking new, like first race, but after that, even though it still looked to be in good condition, it just had no grip. Like it would just spin constantly. The front was unpredictable, is what I'll say. Sometimes it gripped excellent in a turn. But the very next turn it'd wash out. So you were always on eggshells coming into turns. You didn't know exactly how hard you could send it into a turn. So yeah, I don't recommend the Tusk Talon or the Recon. To me, they were both not that great. So I fitted some Shinkos back on the bike. I got this Shinko cheater in the rear and the what is it, the 526, 546 in the front. That's their intermediate for the front. Love both of these tires, and yeah, massive improvement immediately. Like no more confidence issues in corners, no more wild spinning from the rear. It's definitely a good thing for a mud race like this. You don't want to be spinning like crazy. And to add to that, the second change I made to the bike before the race was I turned my power valve back in 2 turns. I had turned it out 2 turns last summer to get a little, get that power valve opening a little earlier, you a little better hit out of the bike off the low end. But yeah, in the mud, you don't want that. So turning in, power valve opens later, and that gives me more down low grunt and luggability, which means less rear tire spin, which is definitely what you want in the mud. So both of those were very good changes for the bike for this race. Now it was around, I think this, yeah, because I remember thinking about it coming around this corner. I got something in my boot, my left boot. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was a rock or like a piece of like stick or an acorn or something, but it got in my boot and it was stabbing the top of my foot every time I put my foot down, and it was very painful. This freaking bridge right here was so slick. There was 2 of them. So from what I understand, this section here across the creek was all new, never been raced before. Yeah, it was fun. I didn't have any problems with it. This area here with the sand was like one of the best parts of the track because it just wasn't like mud. Nice little hill climb here. It was a very easy one. It had some roots on it that would probably catch you up if you were going too slow. But yeah, as long as you hit it with a little speed and carry some momentum, you were fine. I couldn't believe how wet the track was, to be honest, because I live about 40-50 minutes from this place, and it didn't seem like it had rained that much during the week. Like, it had sprinkled a few times, but it was never anything like big. But yeah, it got there the day of the race, and it was just like, holy cow, what happened? It was soaked. And like I said last year, it rained during this race, so it was obviously a mugger as well. This track kind of, it's a bit of a mix. For the most part, track's not bad. There's not a ton of clay like there is at the last, what's it, Pea Ridge? Or whichever race we're at last. There's a lot of clay in the soil there, so when it gets wet, it's just slick everywhere. Here, there's not as much clay. There is clay, but there's not as much, so it's not nearly as slick. But man, it's soft, so you get these deep ruts, which are always fun. They're the swallow your bike if you're not careful and take the wrong line kind of ruts. So strategy for this race, I was just, actually this is the same strategy I used for all my road races, is slow and consistent. Like, go at consistent speed, don't override for the conditions, because you can definitely get into trouble doing that. And, yeah, just pick your lines carefully. This mud hill right here was actually, it looks like it would be terrible, it's clay, but there was a single rut that ran up it, and it was really good traction in that rut. Fortunately, like I was saying earlier, me following too closely behind people, I got stuck behind this guy and had to watch all these people go around me. That's awesome. Love that. We love to see that. But yeah, that single rut there, like as long as you got down in that rut, you were fine. You zip right up that hill. So yeah, I just kept a slow, consistent pace, and I did honestly pretty good looking back at the lap times. So the first lap was 32 minutes, which is slow, but there's a good reason for that, as you'll see. And then every lap after that was consistently 30 minutes. So I did pretty good in the consistency department. Unfortunately, I wish I would have pushed it just a little faster. Could have made a little bit more position-wise, but hey, with a race like this, as rough as a wet track like this can be, I'm not going to complain about the performance that I had. I didn't get stuck. I didn't wreck. I only dropped my bike a handful of times, so yeah, it's not bad. Not as well as I'd hoped to perform, though. I think I mentioned this in the last video. I'm not having that great of a season. I'm not performing the way I think I should be. I feel like I should be. In the last season, I felt like I was doing really good. I was feeling really good on the bike, and then most of the beginning of this season, I just have not felt great on the bike, and I think those tires were a big part of that. So getting those changed out was a good thing. But yeah, it's just, I feel like I should be doing a little better, at least a little better. It's kind of like I've kind of hit like a wall performance-wise. Whoa, buddy. Yeah, it's like skill-wise, I feel like I've hit a bit of a barrier, and I'm having some trouble taking it to the next level. And it's kind of frustrating because some of the people around me are clearly not having that same problem. Kane has been doing amazing this season. He's had some unfortunate things happen to him, which has knocked him down in points and overall position-wise, but actual riding-wise, he's been doing super awesome. Jason also been doing really well. He's been, especially off the starts, he's been real quick. And then my newest friend, Adrian, met him first round this season, and we were kind of neck and neck in the beginning, and now these last two races he's performed much better than me. So he seems to really be hitting his groove and hitting his stride as far as racing goes. So here I stopped for the first time trying to get whatever the heck that was out of my boot. I was like knocking my boot against the peg and the ground, trying to dislodge whatever it was, but it would not move. And I didn't want to sit there too long, and I didn't want to take my boot off. I was like, do I take my boot off? No, I'm just going to deal with it and keep going. So I pressed on, but I could still feel it. Every time I'd stick my foot down, it was basically stabbing me in the top of the foot, and it really hurt. It was bringing tears to my eyes. Back across another sketchy bridge to the old side of the property. So that was all of the new section, as far as I know. Which wasn't bad. I enjoyed it. It was well cut, well marked. Of course, the quads had ran it in previously, I'm pretty sure, but yeah, it's good. Of course, Buren always does an excellent job of the tracks anyway. There's very few tracks that I don't care for in the Mideast series. I have previously talked about one. We won't get into that one too much, but yeah, for the most part, they're all excellent. And it helps that, you know, they've been racing these same tracks for years at this point, for the most part. Although Black Ankle was a new race for this season, and I gotta say that was an excellent track too. Really enjoyed it despite the conditions. Yeah, it was a good track. Oh, there's the first drop. Nothing major. Unfortunate thing about that though is just getting mud on the handlebars. Luckily my handguard kind of stopped it from sinking down in the mud right there. I was able to just pick it right back up and keep going again. Well, try to get going again. So there I stopped again, was trying to dislodge whatever it was in my boot. Didn't work. Still dealing with it. The open field sections were excellent. Like, there just wasn't a whole lot of it, and there's never been a whole lot of it at this track, but yeah, the spots that it was open were really good. Let's try to get out of that guy's way. I saw him have trouble with that hill up there, so it kind of gave me pause, so I stopped to look at it, and then went against it. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't bad at all. So, but then Kenneth was behind me. Kenneth Osborne, he got around me there. I stopped again to mess with my boot. Still struggling with that. It's still stabbing me in the foot. Not sure what those guys were doing. Having a little party there on the side of the track.
Come on, Fred!
That was my buddy Fred Chabra. Met him racing Carolina XC last season. So he came out to do a Mideast race with us. That was pretty cool. It's good to see him. Unfortunately, he didn't have such a good time. I think he said it was his first lap. Something knocked his contact out of his eye, so he had to pull off. Very unfortunate. Because from what I saw before that, he seemed like he was doing pretty good. So, but that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. That's just part of racing. You see how cautious I'm being on the first lap. I'm checking up in every corner and kind of watching out, because you don't know where there's randomly going to be like a freaking pig deep rut in these kind of races. But typically, as long as you scope it out the first lap, you kind of keep in mind where the bad spots are, you'll be alright the subsequent laps. But sometimes some new obstacles do show up late in the race. So I was almost about to stop there, and then I decided not to. But I think I do end up stopping again right down here somewhere. Or no, maybe it's a little later. Yeah, it's a little later. This downhill right here was a little sketchy. Especially towards the last part of the track. It was greasy coming down through here. And then right at the bottom of the hill, of course, you had ruts to drop into. That was fun. And then going through here, this section through here towards the end of the race got pretty tore up. It's definitely a slippery mess. Yeah, stop again here. Fiddle with my boots some more. Cheering Fred on as he comes back around me there. Trying to get going. That's another bad thing about stopping is as soon as you slow down or stop too much, the mud cakes up on your tire, and then it can be really hard to get going again because you got to get enough speed to clear it out. But until you get enough speed to clear it out, it's super slick. I think I nearly died right here. Maybe it was another spot. Oh yeah, right here. Kind of bounced out of that rut. Should've just cut those guys off, but ah well. So I think it's here. I finally pull off on this little downhill section. Yep, right here. I used a tree to hold my bike, and I took my boot off and dumped it out. And I never got to see what actually came out. Like, I didn't see it fall out, but whatever it was, I finally got it out of my boot. But that whole fiasco there cost me probably about 2 minutes in the first lap, and unfortunately that put me in 16th place coming through scoring after the first lap. Way behind, almost dead last. I think there was 18 total, so yeah, pretty much back of the pack. So I had a long ways to go to catch back up. Another unfortunate situation of somebody stopped right in the middle of the drill, stuck, holding everybody up. It's one of those dice roll situations, because I think I've said this before, like, you can choose to try to bushwhack around them when that happens. Sometimes what ends up happening is it takes you longer to bushwhack than it does for them to just move out of the way. So in those situations, it would have been better just to wait and save your energy. You never know. That guy in front of me just randomly stopped and let me by. I'm not sure. He seemed like he was doing pretty good, but I guess he just felt like I was putting too much pressure on him or something. And this guy did not care. Of course, there I go, doing the same old, following somebody again. This little spot right here was a little sketchy. It had these like little rain washes going down this hill. I saw a couple people had fallen over in that area. Oh, I got around that guy. Oh, and this spot, this side hill right here, yes, super sketchy in the wet. Like if you gave it any throttle at all, the back end would just want to slide. Trying to pick up a little pace to make up for lost time, but there's just no coming back from 2 minutes of stopping in the first lap. Like I said, the field sections were great. They were so open and nice. Although this corner right here was a little soggy. You see there's a guy stuck right in the rut. So I found the secret was just go wide. And it was fine. Should have passed that guy, but I stayed behind him. I think I do pass him in the next field. Maybe. I don't remember. Oh, guess not. This spot right here, there's a little wash on the left side that would probably get you if you weren't paying attention. This field right here was super fun because it was a long straightaway, and then there was actually a little cut through to the right here that you could hit super quick if you knew it was there. I thought I got around that guy, but I guess I didn't. And then we get to this section right here, which was, honestly, I feel like this area was like one of the slickest sections. It looks fine, but it was like really slippery through there. Maybe it was just me. Now we're coming into what was my favorite area on the whole track. It was this wide open area right here, and there was a ton of spectators because it was close to the start line. And there was all kinds of different lines you could take. Oh, it was just fun. later in the race, I ended up taking like a more left side line, and it was definitely the line to go with. This little mound here was pretty fun to jump if you had the courage to do it. I will say I actually did a pretty good job keeping the camera clear for this race. Like, I looked through all the footage and there's only a few instances like now where a couple small specks gets on the lens, but that's about it. This left line here was pretty good, pretty sneaky. This section here I always felt like, it was like near the end of the lap and you're tired already. And there was just so many freaking like trees and roots and crap through here. It's definitely a hard section. Very easy to make a mistake, especially like right here. I don't know what it was. There's like so many roots in this one little spot. There we go, outside the bounds of the track. Hope nobody saw that. Get me disqualified. That left line was definitely not the right choice. And then we go down into the long open straightaway section. This spot was fine until like late in the race because this corner up here got really rutted. Like really rutted. You can see it's already pretty rutted. But yeah, you could easily come into that corner with too much speed and then catch one of those ruts the wrong way and it would not be good. Even the start section here got pretty bad. Like, look, there's a guy buried right here near the sign. I think they blocked that spot off actually after the first lap because it was so bad. It was pretty slick right here near the scoring area. Every time I got here, I took it super slow. You don't want to fall in front of like all the spectators. That would be so terrible. There we go. I think the scoring sign actually said 15th, but according to the results, I was 16th coming through scoring on my first lap. Nearly last. So here we go, coming through. This is, I think, beginning of the third lap. And this is the lap that my camera died on, unfortunately. I kept taking this right line through here just because it's the line that I knew. But honestly, I think that some of the stuff on the other side might have been a little better. It's just one of those things where, like, it can be dangerous in a mud race to play with alternate lines when you know a line you've taken previously is a safe line, if you will. There's not like a big mud hole you're gonna get stuck in on that line, or a big rut. But at the same time, it kind of hurts you because if you're taking a slower line and there's a better line available, but you don't want to take the chance on it, then it can kind of cause you to waste some time in that way, I guess. Because I definitely do that a lot in mud races, because like that's the biggest thing. If you get stuck in a mud race, like stuck, like you can kill the entire race. So a lot of the times once I make a lap and I know which lines work and which lines don't, I typically stick to those lines just because I don't want to take the risk of getting stuck. Kind of like this right here. I didn't actually get stuck right there. So the mud in the rut pushed my bike up into neutral and caused me to stop. So, deep ruts. Definitely deep ruts. At this point, I had definitely been doing some fighting. I think I was down to 10th from 16th coming through scoring. So, decent improvement. But still, 10th. It's not a good finish, so more work yet. Tell I'm tired. I'm riding super sloppy right there. There was an inside line here that was much better than this outside line. But, yeah, like I said, I never took it. Actually, I think I did take it on the very last lap, my 4th lap. Speaking of which, I only managed 4 laps in this race, so I did not stay on the lead lap. Very unfortunate. It's been hit or miss for me whether or not I stay on the lead lap. I know towards the end of last season, I was pretty consistently staying on the lead lap. But yeah, like I said, I just haven't been having the best season. And there's been a few races where I stayed on the lead lap this season, but there's also been quite a few that I have not stayed on the lead lap. So, yeah, it's just all over the place. Oh, I took that stupid line right there like 3 times. Where you had to squeeze past that tree. It was such a stupid line, and I kept taking it. Getting out of this guy's way. He seemed like he was hauling it. So, try not to hold anyone up if you can help it. Especially in a race like this where momentum is everything. Kill somebody's momentum and they might get stuck. Again, let this guy by. Nearly lost it getting back on the track. This corner right here was so slick. Like, look at this. Ooh. Nearly spun all the way around, and I wasn't even really on the throttle. And of course these bridges, these sketchy wooden bridges. Man, oh man. I don't think anybody fell in the creek, though, which is a good thing. Murin did take this time to warn us in the riders' meeting to take it easy on the wooden bridges, or you'd end up in the creek, and I don't think anybody ended up in the creek, so at least I didn't see anybody down there. Probably should have geared down for that one. That's another strategy I typically use in mud races, is just to try to run as high gear as I can. But of course, it can catch you out a lot, like in that instance where you're just in too high of a gear for an obstacle. So it's there's definitely a balance to strike there. But yeah, if you stay in a higher gear and lug the bike more, you get less wheel spin, and less wheel spin means more control, which is what you want. Let that guy by, and he has an unfortunate little tip over on that little downhill section coming up. That guy was moving. Yeah, see, he's just kind of knocked over. Like I said, that whole hill right there was kind of sketchy anyway, so easy mistake to make. And then of course this spot got really bad, like I said. You see how deep the ruts have gotten since the first one. And I didn't want to take a chance, so I waited on that guy to make it through and then took my run at it. But then that guy was behind me again, so I stopped, let him by. And right around here is where the camera decided to bow out. So, didn't get anything past this point. Which is unfortunate, because my last lap was the best. But anyway, results time. I was 7 out of 18 in my class, which isn't terrible, but coming from 16th all the way to 7th, not bad, in my opinion. So, I'm not going to complain about that, especially given the conditions of the race. And then overall, I was 88 out of 213 riders and a handful of DNFs. So, I'm not super thrilled about it, but at the end of the day, it wasn't a terrible race either. So, I'm happy with it. Until next time, guys, take it easy.